All right, gang, it's Jeff here again. Today we are going to cover getting a lead that you've been talking to or that you just had a conversation with connected to our preferred lender, what that conversation should look like with the lead, what kind of expectations you should be setting, how we introduce the lead to the preferred lender and the lender to the lead at the same time, what the follow-up process should be involved with that handoff, and some examples and conversation about keeping in touch and continuing to follow up with that lead and controlling the process even though you have handed them over to the lender to get pre-approved. So with that being said, let's just dive right into what the conversation should sound like with your lead and setting an expectation of them speaking to our preferred lender. So I'll just kind of do an improv role play here. So let's say I'm talking to lead. It would go something like this. So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I've had a great conversation with you. Thanks so much for taking some time to chat with me. We talked about the idea of you getting pre-approved. So here's what needs to happen. I absolutely recommend that we have my preferred lender, it's Certified Mortgage Planners, the PreApproval team, to have them reach out to you and have a conversation about the financial elements of the process and make sure that piece of the puzzle is in place. That's going to give you the confidence, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, that when you do find that home, that from the financial side, you're ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to go ahead and have my lender reach out to you. So please expect to hear from Certified Mortgage Planners. They're going to be giving you a call. So please expect to be receiving a call from them. And at the same token, in that email correspondence, you're going to have all of their information. How does that sound? The client will say, okay, that's great. So the idea there again, gang, is that you're setting an expectation and you're controlling that process. If you notice, I didn't ask for permission. I didn't say, well, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, would it be okay if I had my preferred lender call you and talk to you about your options? No, I said, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, the best thing to do is for me to have my lender reach out to you. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to have them give you a call, so expect to hear from them, right? I set the expectation and controlled the process where our lender will in fact get a hold of them, and it was just stated more matter-of-factly. At the end, I use the how does that sound to get a tie down, to get a buy-in, okay? So once you have that, that expectation and you set an expectation that this lender is a customer service driven. They give a white glove treatment for our clients. These guys they're local mortgage experts. We do a tremendous amount of business with them. When they tell us that the deal is going to close, then we can count on it. You add a lot of value adds and statements to setting up that lender as being the right one for them to work with, and then you get that tie-in or that buy-in. The next step would be to make the introduction, right? So this is where the canned response would come in. So I would wrap up that phone call, and then following that phone call, I'm going to make sure to get the dots connected here, okay? And we simply do that by composing an email. It creates this, obviously. We have our canned responses down here, and then we're going to go to this lender email. And it populates this in. I'm going to make this bigger here so that it's easier to see. So all of that populates in, and it's great information here, right? Now, you got to remember, you're sending this to the lead. You set an expectation that they were going to receive an email with the lender information, and the lender was also going to have their information. So that's exactly what this email does. So this is going to go to the lead, whatever the lead's email address is. You're going to want to make sure that you either include in that or copy the PreApproval team. So let's just do an example here. Let's send it to myself. And I want to, let's say, copy the PreApproval team. do here in the subject line is, let's say, introduction to certified. Okay. So the subject, is introducing me as the lead to certified mortgage planners. You're going to address it. Hi, Jeff. Thanks so much. Again, this is you sending it to a lead. So, hey, Jeff, thanks so much for sharing what's important to you and your family about purchasing a new home. As we discussed, the next step is getting pre-qualified by a lender. Please expect a call from the Purcell team at Certified Mortgage Planners, who we highly endorse. Literally on a scale of 1 to 10, they're a 12. And if I were personally getting a loan, they would be the ones to represent me. Walk you through the entire process, ask you the right questions, provide the right advice, and deliver an awesome buying experience. Trust me, lenders and realtors are not created equal, and Certified Mortgage Planners is head and shoulders above the rest. Please expect a call from Ryan Wagner, their team's loan partner and lead concierge. You may also reach Ryan via their team phone number at this and their email. So, that is, I think that's great content. It's already all typed out. It's in the canned response, super easy. And then you just simply down here provide the lead information for Ryan so that Ryan can then follow up. So again, we're going to say Jeff Wernsing. Email address is going to be Jeff at Group.com. Phone number is 352-427-1857. So you simply put all that together and hit send. It's super easy. And then what happens at that point is that this email goes to the lead, goes to the lender. You've introduced the two, you've made a connection. The lender at that point, Certified Mortgage Planners, will absolutely 100% make contact with the client. No question about it. Their systems and our systems very much mirror each other in terms of the follow-up and the consistency and the commitment to conversion. On a side note, if there are particulars that you know about the lead from your conversation that you want to give Ryan a heads up on. What I do is right after I send this email, I create a new one, send it to Ryan direct, just put the lead's name in the subject line, and a quick note, hey Ryan, give me a call about this lead so I can give you some details. He typically will call right away, and that allows me to give him a heads up on some stuff based on what I've already spoken to the lead about. If I know that they're looking for VA, or if I know that they've got, they're in a good cash position, they want to put a lot of money down, or if I know that they may need some credit advice, or whatever it may be, I can give him a little bit of a heads up before he makes that call, so that he's a little bit prepared in his conversation, right? It's not just a blind call completely for him. Now, that's if you have the opportunity to do that, if you have some good information to share. I know personally when I send over Sphere of Influence, I like to let him know, hey Ryan, this is a personal longtime friend of mine. I've known them for years. This is their situation. This is what they're looking to do, so on, so that again, when he calls that lead, he knows it's not just an internet lead that I have no relationship with. This is somebody who I've got years and years and years worth of knowing, and so that he knows that, it just creates for a smoother transition and a better experience for the client. So use that at will. The other thing I would say too here, gang, is that just because you hand this lead off to the lender does not mean at all that your follow-up process stops with this lead. You absolutely 100% should, when you get off the phone with that lead, you've got notes in your database, you've sent this email over, you should have a purposeful follow-up for a couple days, 2 days, 3 days. If it's a Friday, you're calling on Monday or whatever it may be. There's a lot of different examples and situations there. But the point is that within a couple days, you are following back up with this lead to make sure that they spoke to the lender, that there was a connection made there. Because what will happen sometimes is that you'll get the lead excited, they'll be more than willing to talk to the mortgage company, and then they don't answer their phone. And the lender will try and try and try, and they just won't answer. So if you don't have a reason, or if you're not purposeful about following back up with them to make sure that that connection took place, then we're going to miss opportunity. You're going to miss opportunity. If you let that go 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, you'll end up talking to that lead a month from now and find out that they already bought with somebody else, or they're already under contract somewhere. So you have absolutely, as a sales professional, have to control the process, right? We can't expect to hand a lead over to our mortgage partner, as amazing as they are, and they're great, but we can't expect them to follow up on our behalf, right? They're following up to get them qualified for a mortgage. We're continuing to follow up to make sure that we connect all the dots in the real estate buying experience, right? Hope that makes sense. The other thing that I would say is that we absolutely must continue to follow back up with the lead, even if the lender hasn't got in touch with them, right? So we've got that follow-up set. Let's say I talked to somebody on a Tuesday, they're excited, they want to talk to the lender, and I know the lender's going to call them the same day or the very next morning, depending on the time of the day it is. So I set a follow-up for Friday. Okay. Well, Friday comes around, and I know from Ryan hasn't been able to get a hold of him because he sends me emails every time he makes an attempt. So I'm following up with the lead, right? And that follow-up is purposefully set to make sure that they connected during the week. But if Ryan hasn't been able to get a hold of him, that doesn't mean that my following up and nurturing of that lead stops. I, as a real estate sales professional, will continue to follow up and make attempts to get a hold of the lead. I had a good conversation with him, right? I built some rapport. I understand their situation. I talked to them enough where they were ready to speak to a lender. Who knows what the reasons are why them and the lender are not connecting? Who knows? I'm not going to let that situation control my outcome, right? I'm going to continue to keep in touch and make attempts to get a hold of the lead, and then get them back in the hands of the lender once I do speak with them. So I just want to set that expectation that even though we're handing a lead over, which is great, right? We're not relinquishing control of the sales process by doing that. We're going to continue to keep in touch, continue to follow up, continue to get those dots connected, so that we can control the process. As an example, in terms of handing a lead over to a lender, right? Different types of leads, right? You have to remember, we're in the mass lead generation business, right? We generate a lot of leads. A lot of the leads that we get are internet based, right? When we are talking to these people on the phone, although we're doing a really good job and we're high level at qualifying and understanding and building rapport and so on and so forth, we really don't have any relationship with these people, right? So when we hand them over, that's great. But again, we're dealing with internet related leads. There's no real true relationship there. So that versus let's say it's my brother-in-law or somebody that I've known since childhood, or a super close personal friend of mine that I've got history with, and there's a trust factor and there's a relationship built, and I hand those people over to the mortgage company, right? In the first example versus the second one, what do you think the likelihood of the lender being able to get in touch with the lead is? Much higher with the sphere of influence, right? Much higher with the relationship that I have with my friend or sphere or past client that I'm handing over to the lender, because they already know, like, trust me, and they're more likely to answer the phone on the first call or second call from the lender. Versus somebody that's an internet lead that, again, we don't truly have a relationship built with, they may say yes, hey, I'd love to hear from your lender, but then they don't answer the phone, right? So I wanted to just kind of illustrate what two different examples would be, so that there's clarity there. I guess at this point, it's really kind of what I wanted to cover. Let me just kind of recap it, I guess, is that you're setting an expectation that you are going to get this person, this buyer lead, connected with a high quality, local, well qualified lender who we have got a great relationship built with. It's going to give them great service and white glove treatment, and that are experts at what they do, right? You're going to set that expectation. You're going to set the expectation that the lender is calling them. You're not asking permission. Essentially, you're not asking permission for the lender to call them. You're saying it matter of factly. Hey, this is what I advise we do. This is the best next step. I absolutely recommend we do this. Right? You're making it matter of fact. So you get that expectation you set up. You get this email drafted. Again, you go into your canned responses. You pull it up. Get the client's email in there. The Purcell team. You get your a subject line, which is introducing the two. Put in the name, client's information. Hit send. That then goes to the lender. The lender will call. No question about it. Again, if you've got a very, very detailed information or other important information that you want to share with the lender ahead of time, send them another separate email right after you send this one, right to the lender, and they'll call you, and then you can give them those details before they make the call to the lead. And then at that point, again, within Commissions Inc., you are making sure that you have got notes from your conversation, and that you have got a purposeful follow-up set to make sure that lead and the lender connected within a couple days. Okay. Beyond that, you want to make sure that if the lead did not speak to the lender, then you are continuing to follow up and to nurture that lead. Just because the lender and the buyer didn't talk right away does not mean that this buyer is not a viable opportunity, right? That opportunity might not be just right now, right? So you've got to continue to keep in touch. Put another follow-up in there. Give them a call in another day or two. Send them an email. Send them a text. Find a way to engage them. And when you do, requalify. Get them back in touch with the lender. And then obviously, when you follow back up with them in a couple days after you send that lead over, if they have spoken to the lender, then you're setting expectations and advising them on what the next step should be, right? So hope that is valuable, and I look forward to a lot of leads being sent over to that lender. Take care, gang.